The Bible is the best book ever written or collection of writings to have ever existed. Both spiritually and in the temporal realm, this book has proven over the years to be credible and corroborated and proven. Now, it is my opinion that the spiritual reasons are more important than the temporal reasons for the validity of the Bible, as it is the spiritual that gives the a priori evidence for the temporal realm. And what I mean by that is simply that every single day, science is discovering things that people have known for thousands of years through spiritual understanding. But in order to understand the spiritual, you really need to experience it first. And there's no other book that gives more opportunity for experiencing the spiritual realm than the Bible. Disclaimer, not all spirituality is good or holy, which is really the key word for distinguishing the Bible from all other texts. Now, I grew up in church and having the Bible read around me my whole life, but it wasn't until I was an adult, after being moved out of my parents for several years, that I decided to read it myself. In fact, I didn't even read it the first time I went through it. It was 2022, shortly after my dad had passed, and I was really truthfully led to listen to the Bible more than any desire, I guess you might say, of my own wants. It was something that I felt I needed. And as I listened through the Bible that first time, although I wasn't comprehending it, it was on a deeper spiritual level nourishing my soul and my spirit to the point where I was literally skipping meals. I think I went a full day without eating food, but that entire 24 hours, nearly all of, I was listening to the Bible through a year, which on the Bible app, whatever it's called, it has an option for being able to listen to the Bible through a whole year. And so I started that process and maybe finished it in a few months. But that first couple days, it was hitting me in this way that up to that point I had never experienced. The living word, when people talk about how the Bible is a living word, I was witnessing it in that moment, what that meant. After that, I bought an NIV children's Bible so that way I could comprehend it mentally and understand what the different stories were talking about. And that was a good introductory. And then I was blessed to inherit my dad's Bible, his KJV Sword Bible, which I have here. That was the last Bible he purchased before passing away in 2022. There is virtually every type of literature represented in the Bible. And the first and one people talk about the most is probably the historical or history subgenre of the Bible. It's all historically backed, as people who are a lot smarter than me could explain. Guys like J.R.R., Michael Heiser, Wes Huff, these are all biblical scholars who have spent their entire lives studying the early church fathers and the early texts that we derive the Bible from. There's the metaphorical side of the Bible, that you can abstract all sorts of psychological truths, and has been expounded on at length by guys like Jonathan Pajow or Jordan Peterson, who I really like, despite the fact that he has, over the past 5 or so years, kind of been co-opted by the Daily Wire. One thing that he said in particular that I really like is about how the Bible is the foundation of truth, and it's the only way that we have as a means of understanding other truths.
And so it isn't that the Bible is true. It's that the Bible is the precondition for the manifestation of truth, which makes it way more true than just true.
And you think about this from a deep philosophical sense when you try and talk to more modernists who base their worldview, their morality on present day experience and knowledge. Once you do a little bit of digging, you find they don't really have a foundation for what is the good. Because what is the good for those of us who do have a foundation goes back thousands and thousands of years, not just what I feel now. Because what we feel now is a result of thousands of years being built on a foundation. Now, if you want to believe that we came from apes and that the earth is some billions of years old, that's fine. I'm not here to change your mind. But for me, it is a lot more reliable of a source that is credibly proven to be the same text over the course of thousands of years, written by 40 authors, kept within a few continents, and some 60,000 odd cross-references that confirm each other and maintain the same narrative through line, with the focus and ultimate fulfillment and conclusion through Christ, who has been validated and proven as divinely human with the recent Shroud of Turin evidence. And those are just a few of the reasons why I can trust the Bible as a foundation for truth. So there's kind of the historical, psychological, and scientific reasonings for what makes the Bible the best. But then there's the philosophical and poetical and just narrative in general that can be found all throughout the scriptures that make it the best and infinitely interesting and infinitely applicable and meaningful, with always more being discovered personally and objectively. That's not to say that it's always easy or fun to read, though. There are times when you have to really dig and work in order to understand the context of what is being said. And what I've found, that the more that I do dig and study, the more that it proves itself, and the more that I trust and see what a solid framework that it provides for us flawed human beings as a moral framework. There's no other atheist or humanistic framework that can be derived from any other piece of media or literature that can match what the Bible provides. I have found it to be the case both subjectively and objectively that the Bible is true, and I believe that if anybody approaches it in good faith, that they too will become believers and followers of the way. That's all I got for today's video. I could expound ad nauseum about why I like the Bible, but it's one of those things that if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. And so you just gotta find out for yourself. I can't say enough to impress upon you. You have to live your life according to conviction. There is a scripture that says that the law of morality is written on every human heart, but there is a way that seems right to a man, and he tries to order his steps, but that way leads to destruction. The steps of a righteous man are planned by the Lord. And so you can keep thinking that you have it right and continuing in that path, and you might think that you are on the right path because you're getting some form of success in the world. But what if, just what if, ask that what if question, that path is leading to destruction? Something to think about. I'm not here to tell you what to do. You are an independent individual. You are your own soul. I have my own soul, and this is what I have found to be the truth for all souls. A universal truth. Not universally applied to every soul because we do have free will, but it is universally the truth that it is the only correct way. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. And you can experience the true righteousness of God, which is peace and joy. Peace. On that note, peace out. Peace out.